In this video, we're going to talk through the most important thing you can do to make sure your next email marketing campaign is a success. This could be an email fundraising campaign, it could be an email event campaign, it could be your next newsletter, but it's something that every nonprofit should do at least twice a year to make sure that their email campaigns are successful. If you're new, my name is Nicholas, and I am a coach for nonprofits with their communication and marketing strategy. I've been in digital marketing for 10 years, and for the last 5, I worked as a communications director for a large nonprofit. I've served on the board of directors for our local food bank, and I currently teach in digital communication and design program at our local university. So today I want to tell you from my personal experience something that I did that made literally every part of our emails go better. All of the metrics, open rate, click-through rate, conversion rates all went up. Our unsubs and our bounce rates went down, and I want you to get the same results, and we're going to talk about it today. The thing that you need to do that most nonprofits have never done before, and most do not do nearly enough, is you need to clean your email list. It's a super simple process to walk through. There's 3 steps, and we're going to walk through all of them today. And I have some templates available for you so you can copy and paste for your own organization. You could open up your email software, and we can do this side by side with the video, but we need to clean your email list. And what is cleaning your email list? It means you're going to take the people who are on your list, the subscribers, who haven't opened emails from you over a set period of time. For the purpose of today's video, we're going to say this is over the course of the last year, but it could be over the last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, however long you want to make it. I wouldn't make it any longer than a year though, because if most people haven't opened an email from you in a year, they're probably never going to open an email from you again. And that's the whole point of cleaning your email list. We want to identify who those subscribers are, and we want to remove them from your next email campaign to make sure that we're working with the true numbers of people who are engaged with what you're doing. Now, I totally understand that as a nonprofit, you work tirelessly to get those email addresses in the first place. It's really hard work, and every email address that you collect for your organization is a symbol of hope and a symbol of a potential donor or the next person to help advance the mission, and I totally get that. It is difficult, and I don't want to downplay that. But if they're not showing up for you, the common thing that I hear is, what harm could it bring by just continuing to email them? Let's just leave them on the list. Let's ship it. What could go wrong? Well, unfortunately, there are a few things that could go wrong, and we want to avoid that. Predominantly, what we're trying to avoid is the spam folder. Without getting too in the weeds about it, email service providers like Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, they all assign a reputation score to the senders of emails. So they're trying to protect the people who have accounts with them, which makes sense. That's their audience. So when somebody sends an email, they kind of are rating it behind the scenes, and they're trying to figure out, hey, is this something that needs to end up in the inbox folder or the spam folder? You don't want to end up in the spam folder, you want to end up in the inbox. And this is your deliverability. One of the metrics that they take into account when coming up with this score is engagement. If you're sending emails to people who are not opening them repeatedly, if you're sending emails to a large number of people who are not opening their emails repeatedly, it is going to raise some flags to these email service providers and say, maybe this is spam, and they might end up putting you in that folder. So it's going to hurt your deliverability. It also hurts your engagement. Engagement is lower, and open rates are lower, and click-through rates are lower when you have a list that is bloated. When you have people on this list that haven't opened it in a long time, it kind of handcuffs you from being able to make decisions that are strategic and can actually move the needle forward in your organization. Because I know that if we clean the email list and we remove people, look, all your numbers went up by attrition, yay, but it's not a magic trick. We're not talking about that. What we're really after is we want to get down to the people who are your true audience so that you can find your true number, the true number of people who are really wanting to lean in and participate with you. A few years ago, as the communications director at a larger nonprofit, I had a list of 4,000 people, and I was emailing 4,000 people. And my expectations of myself were that I was going to get results as if we had 4,000 people who were engaged. but I can tell you that that absolutely wasn't the case. So as we approached 2023 though, I knew we had to get a list that was a lot cleaner. 4,000 wasn't our real number. So I went through this process, I ran a list, I emailed them, and I saw 1,200 names on this list of people who had not opened an email from us in the last year. And then I went through the process and I eventually archived them, and honestly, it felt great. I ended up in a space where I had a list of 1,800 people, and it was one of the most refreshing and liberating feelings that I had ever experienced in that role, because all of a sudden my expectations and the expectations of the team and the organization, like it was all aligned around getting results from a list of 1,800 people, which is really the results that we were getting. But I had this pressure put on myself to communicate and to get results like we had a list of 4,000 people, but we didn't. And literally everything got better in the email deliverability from there. Everything got better. Our engagement went up, our open rates went up, our conversions when people click through to go to a landing page to sign up or volunteer for an event or donate in a certain capacity, all of those numbers went up. Our unsubs went down, our bounce rates went down. All of the metrics that we wanted to be on record got better, both for us behind the scenes and also for our reputation score with Gmail and Outlook and Yahoo and all the rest of them. Everything got better. So I'm going to talk you through 3 steps of how we're going to do this, and then we're going to jump into the actual email platform, and I'll show you how to navigate this within MailChimp. So step number 1, we want to create a segment. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a segment, and that segment is going to be of anyone who hasn't opened an email from us in the last X amount of time. For this purpose, we're going to make it a year. Then we want to email that segment to re-engage them. We want to try to re-engage them before we say goodbye. We don't want to just drop them, right? There's a couple of reasons why people might not be opening your emails. The 2 most common ones that I see is that 1, the content's always the same. It's monotonous. We have update, 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 update. There ends up being this fatigue with your audience. And so they just stop opening them because they know exactly what they're going to say or what they're supposed to look like. And it really doesn't make any difference to them one way or the other about how they feel about your organization or their level of help. There's lots of donors that don't open emails because they like donating to your cause. They know they like donating to your cause, and they don't intend to change that based on the content of one email. And so if they just think it's updates, they'll continue donating, but they won't open your emails. The second thing that I see in why people might not open your emails is because it's just not frequent enough. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to put together a newsletter, and most nonprofits are sending out newsletters that have multiple pages, tons of scrolling to them. It's a book. It's a full-on quarterly report. But if you only send 4 emails or 5 or 6 in a year, it's really not that hard to not open an email from you for an extended period of time, like a year, because I only had to miss 4 emails, maybe 5. And so it's just not frequent enough. So I recommend a 3-part sequence where we kind of buck the trend there to just see if it's us, we're sorry. Let's see if we can get you open an email again. So we send an email that delivers value in the form of an impact story. You can send a vision story. You can shake it up and just say like, hey, here's something cool that happened today. Whatever, the content can be up to you, but we want to send 3. And the first 2 are really just an opportunity for us to try one more time to re-engage this audience member. After 3, then we'll go ahead and we'll move on to step 3 here, which is we will archive the inactive subscribers. And we're going to go into the segment, and if nobody has opened email 1, 2, or 3, those are the people that we are going to say thank you and goodbye to, and we are going to archive them. Now, it's important to know that archiving is different than deleting. When we archive a subscriber, what we're talking about is we retain their contact information and all of the details, but they're not a part of our active subscriber list anymore. This is helpful for 2 ways. 1, it doesn't count towards your subscriber level. Platforms like MailChimp and many others bill you based on the number of active subscribers you have. So as your audience grows, you get into a new threshold of payment. Makes sense. If you have a larger audience, you're getting more value out of it. You should be paying more and you need more than somebody who has a smaller audience. But if you have a ton of people, like dozens or hundreds or thousands of contacts, I've seen it on lists that aren't engaging with what you're doing, you are paying every single month to have them in your active subscriber list. If you remove them, you can save a little bit of money potentially if it bumps you down a tier, and now you're paying for the people who are actually engaged in what you're doing. And the other thing that's helpful is that if there's a mistake, if someone calls you, you run into somebody in the community, they say, hey, I'm not seeing emails from you anymore, you can go ahead and just move them right back behind the scenes. They don't need to do anything. You can unarchive them yourself. You moved them there, you can move them back. If someone unsubscribes on their end, that's a different story because that's an action they took, and that's a different video. But for you, if you archived them, you can move them back. So we're going to archive people. We are not going to just flat out delete them because you never know. Now, healthy expectations before we get into this process are really helpful. MailChimp says that really successful campaigns to re-engage inactive subscribers based on how we're categorizing them is about 10%, like really good ones. So if you get to 10%, you've done a really, really good job. If you get 3 to 7% of these people in this audience that we're about to create coming back, then you're doing great. You're doing just fine. You're quote unquote normal for your organization. But it's helpful to not go into this process thinking that half of these people, when you email them, are going to all of a sudden turn the corner, come back and start engaging. It's just not the case. And it's best for us to just say thank you and to move them into the archive audience so that you can move forward with confidence and with the true data in front of you to set healthy expectations for the results that you're seeking in your next email campaign. So let's jump in and start with step 1. We're going to create a segment. Now, I put in here that there's 2 rules we need to create this segment. I'm going to jump into MailChimp and I'm going to show you how these rules work. The reason I'm using MailChimp is because most of my clients that I work with are in MailChimp. Not all of them. Some of them use their CRM. Some of them use other softwares. But what I set out for myself today when I jumped into MailChimp was I'm using a free account. So we're going to do this if you have a complete free account. There are some bonuses if you have a paid account that will allow you to do this to a greater level of accuracy. So you're going to want to take advantage of your payment level, but we're doing it with the free account and we're doing some very, very basic steps that, to my understanding, is available in just about any email platform, any email marketing platform, or your CRM. They likely have the ability to take these same steps, maybe with some different language, but you should be able to figure it out. So when we get in here, I've got 101 completely fictitious, thank you ChatGPT, contacts in here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go on the left-hand side and go to segments. We're going to create a new segment. This is step 1. Over here, we have a lot of different ways that we can start this conversation, but we need 2 rules. The first rule that we need is we need to make sure we go down here to email interaction and has not open or did not open. And then in here, you'll see this is one of the limitations of the free account. You can't just choose a date and time. You need to choose based off of the campaigns. Now, most nonprofits, for them, 5 campaigns could be 6 months or 12 months. If that's you, it's okay. That's where you are, and that's totally fine. Let's go from there. So if last 5 campaigns, in other words, the last 5 emails you sent was a span that was longer than 3 months, then go with that. If not, choose last 3 months, whatever is the longer period of time. When you have a paid account, you'll have more options here that you'll see, and it will show you that you can either go up to like the last 10 or 20 campaigns, or at another price break, you can actually like choose a specific date on the calendar. So again, as depending on what price level you're in, but we're going to go with the free one. I'm going to say a campaign that was set within the last 3 months for me. A second rule that you want to create, which is crucial, is you want to scroll down here and say email date added, or in your software, it could say contact added date, or contact date added. And we want to say is before, and we want to choose a date that aligns with this. So in here, I would say is before, and then I would say, and I would choose a date that was 3 months ago. Okay. I'm just going to leave it here I'm going to choose yesterday because that's when I uploaded all my contacts, but you would choose the date that aligns with this. And you would make sure this toggle switch right here, super important, is checked to and. So we've got email interaction. They did not open any campaigns in the last 3 months. We've got our and the email was added before a specific date and time, which would be 3 months ago. Or if you check a date here, it's the same. We just want to make sure these match. And here's the reason why. If you set up just this first rule and you say email interaction did not open all campaigns within the last year, If someone joined your email list yesterday, they're going to show up on this segment. So because they didn't open any of them. So what we want to make sure is we're only getting this segment to people who did not open emails over the last 6 months or 12 months that had the opportunity to. They were there. They got all of those emails and they didn't open it. We don't want to do just this first rule, because what will happen is it will include people who didn't even have the chance to open that many, and you're going to start sending emails you shouldn't be sending to people who are brand new. So we're going to click review. This looks great. We're going to give our segment a name. We're going to say email cleaning, and we are going to review, and that is how it will save it. It's loading our subscriber count. And now it is creating the list. In here, all of my contacts are in there, right? And that's by design. I haven't sent out anything. So all of these people in here, well, I guess I'm not fictitious. I'm right here. Here we go. So we're going to use this segment. And now we have it right here under our segments. Left-hand side, segments, here it is, email cleaning. So now when I go into a campaign, I can go ahead and I can, let's go into our campaigns, email cleaning. This is just a new email I started. I just want to show you that under 2, you can edit the recipients, send to email cleaning. Here's the segment we just created. So now I can send this first email directly to that audience. Okay, so that is step 1. Now, step 2 is that we want to email your segment to re-engage. Now we have a segment. We know the list of people that aren't engaging. We want to get them re-engaged. I recommend a 3-part email sequence. If you want the exact sequence that I have set up as a template, you can find those templates. There's a link below, completely free. You can download them, copy, paste, do a little bit of the Mad Libs, and you're good to go. You're set up with those 3 campaigns. If you really want to, you can just send one. You can say, hey, our email software noticed that you aren't engaged in our content and you haven't been for quite some time. If you want to stay on, you're all good because you opened this email. But if you want to say goodbye, you can unsubscribe or we'll just remove you in 30 days. You can send an email like that. There's no harm to it. Again, this is a list of people who already haven't been opening your emails for a year. So we'll see. I like to take a couple swings though at re-engaging them. It's just something that I like to try to do because you never know. And it's safer to assume that it's us and not them, right? So email 1, I'd say you could send a story of impact your organization is creating. Email 2 could be a story of the vision and the work that your vision for what your work could achieve and say, hey, this is what we're seeing and this is what we want to do. And then email 3 is the one where I'd say, okay, it is time to say thank you and goodbye. Now, again, we're just measuring opens in this example. So I don't have anything that's clickable in here. I have no expectations of someone clicking and trying to identify themselves. For most organizations in your list size, you don't need to overcomplicate it. If someone opens any one of these 3 emails, they're in. They get to stay. If somebody doesn't open any of them, that's the time when we're going to say thank you and goodbye. We're just automatically going to archive them. And they won't know because they didn't open any of the emails, right? So it's just going to help us behind the scenes. I would recommend doing all 3. And again, there's templates to help you just kind of get over this step in the link below. Or you can go ahead and just send 1. It's completely up to you and where you think you are with your audience. Now, in order to send these, what we want to do and what that looks like is after you send the first email, if nobody opens it, okay, you just send that same list, the same email. But if somebody does open it, you want to make sure that they get off of this list, right? So what I would do is I would go in here and I would edit my email cleaning list back in MailChimp. I would say email interaction, they were sent. And then in here, I have this campaign. Here's my campaign that would have been the first email, right? Email cleaning. This would be our first one. So the email interaction is they were sent this email. And then I would change this to be, and their email interaction was they did not open it. Sad. And then I would run this list. Okay. And this will give me a new segment and I would just retitle it when I hit review. I would say email cleaning. Email 2. And this would give me a printout of somebody who got the first email but didn't open it. And so I move them on to email number 2. And then I send email 2 to that list. And then I go back in here and I do the same thing. Hey, if they were sent email 2 and did not open it, then run that segment, and then I would send them email 3. After that, you can say, hey, if someone ran or someone received email 3 and they did not open it, give me that segment. Those are the people that we archive. That's when we get over here to step 3 and we create a new segment of subscribers that did not open any of these emails, right? There's no way you're getting email 2 if you opened email 1. So we can just keep the same segment and just keep going. Hey, who did not open email 1? I will send them email 2. Who didn't open email 2? I will send them email 3. Who didn't open email 3? Those are the people that I'm going to label as inactive, and I will archive them. Again, it saves the data. Everything is saved, but you just don't have to go through you're not going to lose them, but they're going to remove from their active subscribers. A couple important things to know in here is that if you in MailChimp have a higher paid plan, then on the left here under automations, you can go into journeys and you can automate this whole process. So if you are feeling gutsy, or if you are tech savvy, or if you want to jump in here underneath journeys on a paid plan, you can create a customer journey. You can build it from scratch, which is what I would recommend. They do have some templated ones in here, but I think it's honestly easier to start from scratch, and you can set the journey up on autopilot. So you say, here's the list, you send email 1, the people who open it, they're done. They exit the journey. The next people who did not open it, they get email 2 after a couple of days, and then they go into email 3. So you can set this up on autopilot. It does require a paid account. I wanted you to know how to do this if you have a completely free account, because it still matters for you. So it is a bit more manual, and you should, but you do have the opportunity to do that. The other big thing I'll mention here, if we go back into our email cleaning segment, is that I said it earlier in the call, but sometimes donors don't open emails. I see this a lot, actually. It's kind of strange to me. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. It just really depends based on your organization. But sometimes donors don't open emails. So if you have your donors in your database, however it is that you email people, whether it's through an email marketing platform or whether it's through your CRM or wherever it goes out, if you have donors labeled, what you can do is you can come in here to Segment Builder and you can add a filter, and you can choose that tag, contact, and you can change this to is not tagged. And then I only have a tag called inactive, but this would be donor. Let's pretend this is donor. Contact is not tagged donor, and it will automatically exclude them. Even if they've been on your list for a year, and even if they haven't opened anything from you, but they're tagged donor, they also won't end up on that list. I think that's a separate conversation that you should have. It'd probably be good to run that list. And it's a little surprising sometimes to see how many donors you might have that open 0 of your emails. That's a separate conversation. But if you have anything like that where you're like, yeah, this person hasn't opened any emails, but I know that they're involved. Maybe you have some key volunteers who, for one reason or another, when you run this list to begin with, this segment, show up and you're like, wow, they're tagged as a volunteer for an event I did 9 months ago and they haven't opened anything in a year. I don't know. If it feels uncomfortable to you, just go ahead and change it. Add that tag in there and say, hey, let's take out anyone who's tagged this, this, or this, and kind of narrow that segment down until it starts to feel like something that is helpful and healthy to you. I wouldn't overcook it. And I wouldn't overthink it. I'd keep it as simple as you can, but this is the step where you can do that to kind of manually get it to a place that makes sense for your organization. Now, if I go back in here to segments, we're going to do our final step of actually archiving. All I have to do here in MailChimp is, this is the segment. Let's say this is the segment that didn't open email 3. I'm going to click right here and select. And over here, I'm going to select all 101 contacts. And then I'm going to click archive. And that automatically is going to move them into where the archive bin is. You can always find that. It is underneath your audience and your audience dashboard. You can always look at archive contacts. Again, you keep them, you retain them. You're just moving them into a different bucket so that they're not counting against you on your actual payment plan. And so that you now are empowered and encouraged with an active email list. So that is what's going to put you in a position where all of your metrics are going to get better. You're going to set healthy expectations. You're going to improve your reputation score with any of those other email service providers and help your deliverability. If you're concerned about that, which I don't think most organizations need to be, but if you are, if you're sending and you have a list that's over 1,000 people and you're sending out and you have thousands of people who aren't opening, you can check that using a tool like Sender. _. And you can go on there, and that's kind of a free check if you really want to see where your reputation is and if there's anything you need to do to adjust it. But it's really something that you don't want to continue doing, because at some point that will catch up with you. You're going to get all of this better. Engagement's better. Control over your list is better. Everything is set up to help you succeed with your next email campaign. It feels great. And all you need to do is just keep this list clean. I would say you should send this, and you should do this process like every 6 months, every year to 6 months. That's when I would do it. Once or twice a year should be plenty for your organization as a nonprofit in order to keep this list healthy. And if you want any of the templates that I use in order to send out that 3-part email sequence, you can find that. It's completely free. You can get it in the description below. It also includes suggestions for the subject headlines, and it also includes all of the instructions here, and it includes some timeline recommendations of when you need to send those emails out. All right, check out the link below. You can get those templates, and happy cleaning.